5:04.
Just now.
And
Make sure your red button.
all right, Oregon City Library Board calling to order at 5:04 on Wednesday, February 10th. Present currently is Scott Edwards, Jan Wallander, Don Wright, and Chairman Dan Millard. We're still missing a couple of people, but we expect some lateness, so we'll carry on as we have a quorum. First and foremost, approval of the minutes.
I have read the minutes, and I move that they be approved as presented.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Yeah, you don't count anymore. Motion carried. Moving on. Public comments. Do we have any comments from the public?
Jan will be at the end when we do the Friends and the Foundation.
All right.
Okay.
We'll hold those till later. Moving on. Mo, talk to
Great.
us, please.
Well, the first thing I would like to do is introduce to you your new Youth Services librarian, Barrett Miller. Barrett, why don't you come up
Face the
to the
cameras.
desk
Face the
so that you can
Face the
speak to
cameras.
people.
Okay.
Barrett comes to us from Crook County Library System.
Farrah?
Crook.
Farrah, Crook. What is her name?
Barrett.
Barrett
As
Barrett.
in Grenada.
comes to us from
Old ears.
Crook
Okay.
County.
Thank you.
And which is in Prineville. And why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself and your plans for the Youth Services Department? Just very generally.
Now, is your little red button on there? Now it is. Okay. Yep.
Now your television audience can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So formal.
Yeah, kind of not really, but
Well, from what I've come from.
Yeah, from Kirk.
So, I can tell stories.
On?
Is it?
you should see it light up.
It should be lit up.
This looks lit up. So,
Okay.
okay.
Proceed.
Yep. Okay.
Definitely.
Woohoo. So I've worked at Crook County Library for the past 3.5 years. When I left there, I was assistant director. So I am super excited that going to board meetings on the regular is no longer part of my job description. I got into librarianship to work specifically with kids and families, and I took a job that was going to allow me to do exactly that when I was hired at Crook County, and then people kept retiring and they kept giving me other people's jobs, and all of a sudden I was in management, and that wasn't really where I wanted to go. So I'm very, very happy to be here in Oregon City, getting to focus on working with kids, working with families, and teens too. I like the whole youth services spectrum. I grew up in California, went to college at Willamette, went straight to grad school at the University of Illinois, which has a really highly ranked children's services program. I worked with the second largest collection of children's books in North America as the collection development specialist in grad school. And then I really wanted to come back to Oregon, specifically the Willamette Valley, but the closest I could get right out of grad school was Crook County, so I paid my dues there before getting lucky enough to come over here. Clackamas County was top of my list for a variety of reasons about how the link infrastructure works, and when I realized I could come work for Mo Cole, it kind of sealed the deal on that being my top pick job. So I'm really, really happy to be here, very excited about the new library. We'll be rolling out lots of really wonderful things in the next several months as the new building is finished and we have space to do programs, but the new things I'm kicking off right off the bat are a weekly Lego club for kids of all ages. It's a great creative thinking, problem solving, early STEM skill program. So there's lots of really great education stuff. Plus it's fun and it sells itself. So we'll be doing that, and we'll put the Legos out just in the kids' room every Saturday morning for an hour. The kids can build whatever they want. We'll give them a theme, because sometimes kids, like you say, build whatever you want, and they give you like this big deer in the headlights, like they don't know what to do without a list of instructions. So then you can give them a theme, like, we'll build a house, build a car, use only 2 cups of Legos and see what you can do. And then we'll find places in the children's room to display them so other kids can see all of their ingenious designs. And then it's also free marketing for your next program. And then we'll be having a Wednesday afternoon art lab program, which is a little bit of a free-form art program, again, designed to really do a lot with giving kids some open creativity, not here's this craft template, make a little thing that looks like this thing, but putting out art supplies. And we're also going to put out enough art supplies for parents to participate so that they're doing the project alongside their child and not micromanaging their child's project, and so that it's a little bit more exploratory for everybody. We're looking at getting, I've been calling them real art supplies, so not just what kids would be using at school or at home that, you know, their families can get at, you know, Fred Meyer, or that the teachers are using, you know, from a discount school supply program, but getting actual drawing paper, actual drawing pencils, paints, paint brushes, things like that, so that kids get a chance to use some professional quality basic art materials and get a real feel for doing art. So, which is completely outside my depths. I have no visual art skills whatsoever, so this is going to be awesome.
Everything will be genius to you.
Yeah.
Everybody
Great.
gets a star, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's made purchasing supplies kind of difficult. I had to send like an SOS email to one of my former coworkers today, like, I need fancy pencils, Jane. Tell me which fancy pencils to buy. And luckily I have contacts who can tell me, give me a shopping list of fancy pencils. So,
Can.
yeah, it was awesome.
So I'm thrilled to have Barrett, and I'm thrilled to have somebody that can kind of do the whole oversight of, you know, age 18 on down, with emphasis on some things like this. Because, I mean, as you've probably seen, and, you know, I just sent Barrett an article this morning. It was about play and how important play is, and some freedom and lack of structure, you know, and activity, but not specifically every movement directed. You know, kids absolutely have to have that time, and talking, sitting around a table and just gabbing with other kids and stuff like that. So really excited that we're going to start some of these programs before we even move.
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
This is Laura Ingham,
Hi.
one of our other board members, and she is the primary school librarian for Oregon Episcopal School. Yeah, so you're talking her language there.
Yeah, that's great.
And then other things I'm doing, I'm going to be serving on the Clackamas County Early Learning Hub as one of the library representatives, which will give me a chance to get to know a bunch of the other community agencies working with young kids and families in the region, so I can hopefully start forming some strategic partnerships with some other organizations, which was one of my strengths in Crook County. I was also involved in the Early Learning Hub there. I had great relationships with all of the people from the hub, and we piloted some really great programs. One of them that my county group came up with and that my library implemented was eventually awarded a $50,000 Oregon Department of Education grant to be used in the Tri-County area, and right now they're looking at getting United Way funding to make it something that is basically kids who went to the pediatrician's office or to some other WIC appointments, any other place where they had contact with the social services agency, the kids would be given a free book and a bookmark and sent down to the library, and if they came to the library, they got another free book. And so we piloted that program, and now they're getting long-term funding for it, hopefully. So
You guys know about early learning hubs? It's an effort out of the state.
I forget that not everybody speaks Happiness.
Yeah, to organize or to connect services that impact children and families, so that at least there's an awareness of all the services that are out there, because we don't typically like talk to each other, you know, because we're all in our own little silos. So it's an effort to have these hubs throughout the state. And each county has one, right? Kind of?
It's 16 throughout the state. There can only be
Okay.
16, and so it's different. Like the large counties each have their own, but then the smaller counties band together in different combinations. But it's librarians are very involved, early child care people are very involved, public health departments are very involved, so it's, social services agencies are very involved. So it's trying to get essentially all of the government-funded agencies that work with children who have not started school yet and their families, to kind of get everybody together and talking and on the same page, so that we can sort of work together towards we want kids, once they enter kindergarten, to be successful in school, and so it's getting all the people who touch their lives before then on the same page.
Maximizing resources.
And it's really wonderful. I had great success in Central Oregon building partnerships between the library and other organizations, and really leveraging them towards collective action. So I'm hoping I'll be able to do something similar here.
You too.
Very cool.
Great.
So, I'm also the chair of the Children's Division of the State Library Association. So it's not like I'm busy or anything.
No.
No.
And that's a great way to be connected with your
Yeah, it
peers.
is.
It's amazing. I mean, that's where I've really gotten a lot of help over the years through that group. So it's very, very good. So I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot more from Barrett over time, if not directly from her, from me, as I report to you about programs that are happening. But we're really excited to have her before the library opens so that she can be thinking about what to implement, and also so that she can suffer through the construction process with us, which is truly a bonding event in our
She
lives.
keeps saying that.
Yes.
We know it's true.
Yeah. Denise was giving me kind of a well-intentioned hard time today because I've just come in, and then I'm going to be the first person to get to move into their permanent office space, so I have the least amount of suffering. I'm feeling
But at least you have some suffering.
Yes,
If you had
that's
no
true.
suffering at all, it would be bad.
Yeah, if you just
Yeah.
came to the new building.
I'm
you
doing
would
this
kinda-
for your own good.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mo. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I'm thinking of you. Yeah.
It's called
Any
trial
part-
by fire for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
Actually, this has been less stressful than my first library job, so
Yeah.
in terms of like things I was
You're-
not expecting.
You're working with a good crew here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys that
Welcome.
not only do they know their job, but they know how to interact with people very, very well.
Oh, there's DA.
Apparently DA
You
is locked
open,
out.
DA? Thank you.
Barrett, if you want to get my email address from Mo, my husband does art on collaborative art with kids. So if you wanted some help with that in the early stages, I'm sure he probably would be totally game. So
That would be really helpful.
That's a great idea.
yeah, including doing assemblages with like getting materials from scrapping, letting kids just build sort of more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I
so
love doing that.
That's a really fun thing to do.
yeah. So
Scrap
When they
projects
just-
are amazing.
Except when they decide to shred all of the styrofoam all over your meeting room.
well, sometimes he can help with it too. He used to run those through AmeriCorps, so got some background.
And our, have you met DA Hildebrand? He is also on our board. He's on our building committee, and he's on our foundation board. Don't cross him.
Yeah.
So Barrett is our new youth services librarian.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, yes. So she was just introducing herself to everybody. All right, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Do you want to leave? Okay. We have a portion for that at the end of the agenda. Okay, but if you want to do early so that you can go home to John. You sure? Okay, all right. So, so that's Barrett. I'm excited.
She's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. She's going to have a meeting with the people who've been providing story times tomorrow to talk about that and programs. She's like a story time instructor and that kind of stuff. So I think we've brought a lot of professionalism into the library, and I'm very excited about that. All right, so just on the regular monthly report and stuff. The door count is not bad, but the checkouts are definitely down. And I provided you guys, I sent you guys this breakdown of everything,
Yeah.
which I tried to highlight. There were no real surprises on the materials that had the highest circulations. But you could see over the course of from August to January how almost all of the figures are declining somewhat, even in the high columns that were highlighted. So, do you want a copy of this? I've got a few copies.
Yeah, I'll take a copy. That's his copy.
Yeah, that's my copy.
Okay.
I couldn't get that to print, so.
I looked at it online. So I did notice that it seemed to be that each category was declining. So it wasn't like there was a switch in types of materials people are taking out. They're switching from books to DVDs or something else. It was really, I didn't see that. It was like everything just kind of went down.
Yeah. I don't think I attached that, did I? I don't think I had this when I first wrote this. Here's another copy. But yeah,
And that might just reflect,
I
the
think it
impact.
just kind of reflects construction.
Yeah.
what I can't quite figure out is why our door count is not so low, but our checkouts are kind of,
Is it because the collection is small and has been small for a while?
yeah, I mean, the thing that I would expect to be increased are holds, and those are also down. And so,
Yeah, you're right.
I
Yeah.
got that number today.
thank you for your help. So yeah, I think that,
And new fiction's down.
well, yeah.
No, new fiction.
I mean, like, everything is down
Like-
a little bit.
That would fall under your Lucky Day books. And
Lucky Day, I don't have a copy in front of me. Lucky Day might be its own category.
That's weird.
Yeah.
LP fiction, LP new, LP nonfiction. Lucky Day. Okay, so yeah, that's its own thing.
Yeah, its own thing,
Is
but
it
it has no
also-
numbers
I mean, this
on
is-
it though, Dan.
This
You see
is
that?
This is 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Could it be the difference between this? I mean, July is a high point, isn't it, for children checkout or not?
Yeah, during the summer is usually like pretty high.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the children differences and wondering if that has.
That's been decline. I mean, I've noticed decline in children's and teen stuff for quite a while. I mean,
So
it's all
not
kind of
monthly.
like, all of it is kind of declining at, maybe not exactly the same pace,
Yeah.
but a pace that you can notice, And door count has declined. It's kind of hovering in that 95% of last year, which is not horrible or anything. But, so what I think is that we're having, a lot of people come and they're more using what computers we have left, although that number is also decreased of computer sessions because we have like 2 or 3 fewer laptops or computers. So they're just reading magazines. I mean, it's just kind of, they're using the bathrooms and not doing anything else. I mean,
Or do you think it's just taking out less? I mean, they're the same number of people where they used to check out 5 things, now they check out 3. I mean, I don't know.
yeah. I mean, that would require a lot more analysis
Yeah.
to get
Well,
down
how-
to that level.
How reliable is the door count?
Oh, the door count is not very reliable. Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
mostly reliable, but, so what happens with the door count is, so it just tracks, back and forth, right? But I get 2 numbers, one for upstairs and one for downstairs. And then I just use, one number, from upstairs and one number from downstairs together. So I'm not giving you like in, out, whatever. But what will happen is sometimes things will get moved in front of the door counter so that they can't, complete its little X-ray vision thing over to the other side. So then I have to estimate, how many people do I think might have come that day? Well, let's look at the figures for the other day. So then you're extrapolating and you're just kind of guessing. So it's never going to be extremely accurate because there's, it's not a very sophisticated system.
Until you start dealing with in-only, out-only type doors.
Yeah. Well, so, but I mean, the thing is, it's just as inconsistent today as it was a year ago. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm still like just comparing kind of the same system to the same system. So even though it's not like, down to, it'll give me a number, I just don't know how reliable it is. But I'm just comparing to the same unreliable thing as I was doing last year.
Assuming that you're still being reliable in that way.
Yeah.
You're being
Well, I'm
reliably
completely
unreliable.
So, yeah, exactly. So, and if I have to make up a number, I try to, because something wasn't working one day or whatever, I try to make a note of that in my statistics so that at least then I can go back and take a note of that last year. But, there will be things from year to year that change door traffic. Like, January, we had a snow day. So, in fact, we had 1.5 snow days. So I did want to mention that. Gina was on vacation for the whole month of January. So my reference statistics look awful in there, by the way, because we had temporary staff taking notes on statistics. Not that they weren't trained, they just weren't as good as she is because she's there like a lot of the time. I mean, some people might even come in just because they like to go see Gina, for all I know, you know? I mean, she's pretty charismatic, you know? So, you know, there's all these variables that are very hard to attribute a number to. However, I think that overall, since you can see it kind of declining over time, that construction has an impact. And I also think that if it's construction, then construction will be over and it'll go back up. And we know it's going to just like skyrocket. One of my staff today was telling me that the children's librarian over at West Lynn is fielding all kinds of questions about when our library is going to open.
Right.
They can't wait to come over here and use the facility. So,
I'm also wondering if not having the park next to you also impacts that.
Yeah,
because it
that's
no
a
longer
really good
becomes
point.
a destination
yeah.
where you go and then you
Right.
pop in. If it's, I think that for both adult and children's circulation, I think that might have
Right.
it.
Well, and so much. I mean, literally the entire block now is fenced off
Yeah.
from usage.
It's hard.
Or like kind of gross because of the digging they had to do. Yeah.
I think that's a very astute
I
observation.
think so too, Laura.
And I say that because our little park in Barclay Hills is being reconstructed and it's all fenced off. And I can sit and watch cars stop and people get out and there's nothing for the kids to play on, so
Yeah.
they got to pack them back up. And now what are we going to do? You know, this was their destination and they can't do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and even though, you know, part of the park was not available, like, well, since August, obviously, but they even came all the way around.
Yeah, it's more
the
so
spray
now.
park. So, I mean, it's really
Yeah.
quite inaccessible
Mhm.
looking, and truly is, you know. So anyway, just a note. I don't think it's the end of the world because, you know, we're gonna fix that problem. Thanks. In other news, some of our programs have been amazing, and let's see here if I've got that list. Well, Pines from the Past. Oh my gosh, the last one at Midway, we had over 200 people, something like 220.
The History of Beers one?
No, the History of Beers one is coming up.
Oh, okay.
That's on February 29th. You still
Get
have
there
not
early.
missed that one. Monday, February 29th. Actually, my neighbor, his name is Sam Holloway. He is a professor at University of Portland, a business professor, and with emphasis in entrepreneurship and strategic planning. But his real specialty is the business of craft beer. He is a part owner in Oakshire Brewery out of Eugene. He has a keg in his basement. He's a great neighbor.
Nice neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he is, he's going to talk about the history of beer since Prohibition and, you know, the big companies and then how craft beer is kind of busting up the big companies, like one beer at a time, as he says, and how the laws had to be changed in order for that to happen and how that happened in Washington and Oregon. They like led the country in changing those laws. So I think it'll be really, really interesting and really good. It's kind of a little bit different twist on local history, but beer, I mean, who doesn't like the topic of
Where is
beer? It's at Midway.
It's again Midway.
It's at Midway again. We're hoping that not 200 people turn out this time because it's really, we are victims of our own success. And
You're in a beer place and talking about beer. I can't see why
I
there
know.
would be 200 people there.
I know. You know, it would be like perfect if like 150 came. Do you know what I mean? But we're talking about how to handle it a little bit differently. We refine it. This will be our third one. We're refining it over time. Carol Pauley, of course, is lovely to work with. Our partner, Claire Blaylock from Clackamas County Historical Society at the Museum of the Oregon Territory. It's a great collaboration and lots of fun. So I think that's an awesome series. And from how many people show up, it looks like there's like a real pent-up need for that kind of event in Oregon City.
It certainly is hitting a different, what's the word I wanted?
Demographic or whatever.
Demographic.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of these people, they're very familiar with the library, but a lot of them don't use the library, you know, but they'll go to a program like that. So that's what we find with our films as well. And this week is Secret State of North Korea. And we have somebody coming, his name is Jim White. He's he may not be a current professor at PSU, but he's been one, and he also worked with Mercy Corps, I believe, and hasn't been to North Korea for a while, but spent a lot of time there, and said he would really like to talk about people's perceptions of North Korea and how it's kind of different. So I think that'll be really, really interesting too. So, and then quilling, that was an adult art project, and we're trying to have more things like that as well. So, and then speaking of quilling, Gina put that together, the reference librarian, and I recently, Barrett is our youth services person, and I decided that we should have kind of a parity and have an adult services librarian. So I opened that up Monday, in-house only, and we'll just take it from there. So then that'll be kind of nice, because then I can have two people that I can say, okay, you're kind of overseeing the collection development, the programs, etc. in this area. And they report to me and we can discuss, and it will be so much better. It'll be really good. So I'm excited about that. So any questions on, and then I did want to mention that we are going to close the library for a half a day at the end of March. About 6 weeks ago or so, we had a 3-day training on RFID, and one of the trainers was Cheryl Gould, and I was just very impressed with some of the stuff that she presented. So we decided to have her come back, and it was difficult to decide which training we needed the most, but we decided to do one on communication. I thought that it would be really, really good to discuss, before we go into this incredibly huge transition, to discuss how we are going to talk to each other about all the craziness that's going to be happening. I think it's really important for us to, we have some people who fall apart just when, they might be offended over somebody saying a crossword to them. We're going to have all kinds of that stuff going on in the next few months. We got to be on the same page. So I thought that would be a very worthwhile thing to close the library for a half a day for. We'll go over to the West Lynn Library Conference Room and spend half a day on that, have lunch, and then send some staff back here to open the library up, and then have some of the rest of us discuss about how we're going to implement what we just talked about, so that it doesn't turn into one of those, we just paid a lot of money for this training and we never think about it after the day that we had the training. So that's the plan anyway. So strategic planning. So I'm very sorry if we got on different pages with strategic planning. I couldn't really remember, so I looked back at the minutes, and it kind of just said we're going to put it off for now. So
I think there was a timing issue based on what meetings were happening.
yeah, because this is always followed up by a meeting at 7, at least most of the time. But I think it also was kind of like, it's not that we don't think we need to do strategic planning, it's just that we have so much on our plate right now, and there are things that we'd like to do once the building gets done, and we want to discuss that and all be on the same page and move forward with that, and certainly hear from you folks about what those ideas are and make sure that you agree with me before I move forward. Or not. I mean, that's what the fun discussion is about, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the fun part. But, from my point of view, I would love to have that conversation. Honestly, I would rather spend time putting policies in front of you for the new building, like meeting room policies and stuff like that for the next few months. If we could do that before we start focusing on strategic planning, that would help me out a lot.
That's a good idea.
Okay, then what I'm going to write it down even. What I'm going to really try to do next month is bring you a meeting room policy. Because there's a lot of ways to look at this beast. And I really want to get your feedback from the public point of view, like if we should be considering charging, that kind of thing. We can figure out a reservation system and all that stuff, but please don't make me hold weddings in the library. Please don't make me do that. But I mean, there's things that you have to like say, we will not reserve the meeting room for such and such activity, or we will reserve for these activities only, or we will not charge nonprofits, but we will charge, for profits. Those are things to think about. I'll try to get you something ahead of time so that you can kind of be thinking about the issues that come up in a meeting room policy. How's that?
Very big. Controversial.
Could be. But it doesn't have to be. And we can do one and we can revise it as well if things don't work out.
Do you have a more sort of a sense of how many other policies? I mean, are you beginning a little list of?
I do have a little list, but this is probably one of the most important ones. That's right. I will feel much better when we get something going on this. I've been talking about it for a long time, and I've had staff do research on it too. So it's not like we have to recreate the wheel or anything. There are libraries all over the state who have meeting rooms who have dealt with this, so we can just pull from them and decide what suits our community the best. But we do have 3 meeting rooms. Do we want them all to be the same? Are there time limits? What about when there's not reservations? Okay. All that stuff. There's lots. Okay, so that will be our, what month is it? That's March. Okay. March activity. Yay. That will be really, really, truly helpful to me. All right. So the next thing is the building report. And let's see here. I can actually, you can see this on your screens, can't you?
It's easier that way, yeah.
Jan, do you want to come over here and sit with me? And you can see the PowerPoint.
Otherwise, we have to do the lights and the thing.
I know it, the whole
This
9
is
yards.
fine.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit here.
Yeah, you just sit here. I can lean over you. We're close. We're friends.
You sense the power from up here?
Right? So this is the one I most recently presented. This is the mock-up wall, which is actually super helpful, even though the architects are driving the contractors crazy about it. And that's really fun to watch, too. So you can see over at, this doesn't show up very well, over at the far right, there's some indentations, which adds a really nice level of interest. And that's just in certain places. It's not everywhere. But then the other brick, there's some textured and there's some smooth brick. And so it's really nice. It's interesting up close. It's very nice. And then this yellow stuff, that's called the precast, right, DA?
Mm-hmm. Precast concrete.
Precast concrete. And it really matches the yellow brick of the Carnegie really nicely. It looks really good. And then this is another view of it. And this silver thing, that's the eyebrow. So that goes around most of the building on the 2nd floor
Okay.
and kind of creates a little sunshade. And we did have a little bit of a problem with the construction of that. They had to take some of them down, fabricate a piece, and put them back up because they didn't fit together quite right. Architect problem, owner pays. Okay, this is the 1st floor, and what you're seeing going up is the metal framing and then the window framing in the back onto Jefferson Street.
Is that the fireplace in the background?
Yeah, no. That's their little movable shed, their mobile shed. This is Barrett's office. Next to Barrett's office is a family restroom, which will have 2 toilets. One of them will be miniature for the kids with a red toilet seat. It'll be really, really cute. And then on the far left is a big storage room, and then stairs going outside. And that's Dave, our construction site manager. I got to hold his 2-month-old baby yesterday, and he went to sleep in my arms. I was one happy person. So adorable. So Dave is awesome. Dave does a really great job of overseeing this project with a very level head. And that's the children's area storage, and that's just kind of gives you some scale. And this is looking down at the children's room. That's the 7th Street side. So part of it's wall and part of it's window. And then the storage area is over on the right that we just looked at before. This is my office. It's upstairs, and we're looking out over 7th towards where Scott works. And then this is, oh wait, I went back. There we go. This is just kind of goes all the way around the next few shots, and that's looking towards John Adams and 7th, so you get that nice treehouse effect.
Trees are really nice.
Aren't they great?
Mhm.
And that they're not even in leaf, you know?
Yeah.
And then going around towards the fire station.
A nice view of
towards-
the bluff, yeah.
Then you get a really great view of the bluff. You also get a good view of the roof.
Mhm.
And we have been working on the FRIT, which is the pattern, which will be, that's the application process to the windows on the 2nd story windows over by the Carnegie side of the foyer. So that there's like a pattern, and there's a little bit of, we decided to have a little bit of frosting on that glass so that the pattern shows up and the roof does not. But then it doesn't go, the frosting doesn't go all the way up, it just goes part way up so that you still get the view and the sky from beyond. And then you'll still be able to see the roof from certain vantage points. So Atkinson Church just changed its name, did you hear?
No.
Unitarian Universal Congregation of Willamette Falls.
My gosh.
I know. But, you know, we're still just going to call it Atkinson Church where we live. And then this is, like, I'm standing where the picture is taken, basically right at the top of the stairs. And so what you see directly in front of you will be like the laptop bar right by the welder thing, to the right of the welder. And then down on your left by the guys in the vest, those are our other conference rooms that are framed out. Straight ahead where the window is, that's the teen area. And then over on the right, in the kind of in the center right page of the page, that on the other side of the elevator, which is the tall gray tower, that's where that kind of, there's a little nook there where a table will be, study table, and that will overlook the foyer as well. And from there, you're like, you feel really close to the Carnegie because you're just across the entrance from it, which you can see the frame, the steel framing of the entrance right below there.
Which way is the elevator open
Elevator's
out?
that gray tower right
I know,
in the
but which
center.
way do the doors open?
So you go in one side, you go in on the Atkinson Church side, and you come out on the other side. Does that make sense? So when you're downstairs, you go in on the entrance side of the building.
So it opens facing the church then on the 2nd floor.
On the first floor.
No, then it,
And then
Yeah.
it opens facing the lobby on the second floor.
no.
Okay.
So downstairs, it opens facing the lobby.
And then upstairs.
Upstairs,
faces-
it opens facing Jefferson Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure it out when they get the doors going.
Believe me, you're not going to step out into thin air. That's the only thing that's important, right?
That's right.
Okay, and then that's facing Jefferson Street, so we got lots of windows there. This place is not lacking for windows. Yeah, and then these are the conference rooms again. And if you can see this wall kind of right where my little top, cursor is a little bit, I don't know if you can see my cursor. That's the wall at the end of the wood on the thing. That's the wall that separates kind of the 3D printer room, makerspace room, from the rest from the conference room. And the upstairs conference room is going to be a really nice size. I think it's going to be really comfortable for about 12 people. I think it's going to suit a lot of people's needs. And this is just towards Jefferson Street, but a little bit different view. Again, the room right in front of you, that's the makerspace room. And then all along the left, that's all going to be teen stuff. And then this is from new building, obviously, you know, over on the teen area side, but looking towards Sixth. So you're overlooking, if you look down, you'd be looking at the entrance. And this is back towards the Carnegie, where I said that little study table was going to be. That's the Nook right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the Nook, looking across the other way. And then this is in the Nook, just looking down into the children's room. So that's directly underneath.
Oh, got it.
And see those stairs? Those are the stairs we have to climb up right now. Those are the temporary stairs that look kind of like a ladder.
Oh, okay.
I can't get Brian Shaw back up there anymore. He refuses. They also did some really, really nice aerials.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those were kind of fun to see.
Yeah. So it really gives you kind of a feel for the size of this thing, how it sits, connects.
Wow. It is impressive.
Yeah, but yet it doesn't overwhelm the Carnegie, I don't think, you know?
No.
It just kind of like looks like it fits together,
Which was the plan.
which was the plan. How about that? It's so nice when plans work out. And that's the end of that. Leave that on. So, in other building news, one thing I did want to talk to you guys about, I will be going in front of the city council next week to ask for an amendment to the project manager contract for about $100,000 more dollars, exactly $100,000 more dollars. So Shields, Oblich and Johnson is our project management firm, and Charlie Ballman is our project manager. He's an engineer and an architect, and works really well with the entire group, and has done a great job. But when we started this project, I was looking back at his original contract. He estimated that it would cost $285,000 for project management services, and it would take 2 years. Well, it's been longer than 2 years. This was April of 2014, so we're coming up on that. And it has cost more per month. So you may remember in the beginning how our public approval and design process was so very extended and took months and months and months to get through.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I mean, if you can remember all the back and forth with the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association, and it was all time well spent, as it turned out, but it was a lot of time, and of course time is money. And then in addition to that, the contractors requested a longer building schedule than we had originally estimated. So they estimated 13 and a half months instead of 12 months. And so that has made the project longer. So, and on top of that, our bill with the project manager has been about $1,000 more per month than they originally estimated, because we've just needed their services more. And that's all good, because it has helped the project run very smoothly. And I mean, you can see the product. It looks really good. I think the end product is going to be excellent. I think we're going to be really, really happy with it. But that takes a certain amount of oversight. And Charlie has estimated that it will cost $100,000. I mean, more or less. It's like $99,706 or something to complete the project. And so we'll be going in front of the City Commission next week to get an amendment to the contract for that. He had put money into administration contingency, but that was about $60,000. So we will have to go into project contingency to cover that whole thing. We have it. We're well covered still. Our contingency funds are still relatively healthy, but we are getting to that point where we need to start being very careful about, you know, what happens. Most of the things that we have changes on are more to the tune of, like, you know, $3,000 here, $8,000 there. So I suspect we'll be okay unless we come up with something very, very dreadful happens. So we need to be careful, but I think we're okay. And I'm hoping that you guys are on board with this, because having a project manager has meant the difference between having a good project and not a good project. In this situation, when you have a library director who has no experience with a building, he has saved my skin many a time and explained things to me really, really well and been there for me every time I needed him. So I'm in favor of it, and I don't know that you need to vote on it or anything, but I certainly want you to know about it and be comfortable with it before I go in front of the city commission.
Well, I want to add that in my experience, this has been the absolute best project manager I've ever worked with, and he far exceeds the expectations I had of project managers, because I've worked with so many that are just not working really in the owner's interest as much as they're working in their own interest, and that isn't true with this particular project manager. So I'm really pleased, and it's certainly been a lot easier for me not have to spend a lot of time that Charlie's been doing. So this has just really been a great project because of that.
So part of it goes, is that a percentage of that goes to one individual?
He's an employee.
Charlie is
Yeah.
an employee of Shields,
Okay.
Oblitz and Johnson, which is who we have the contract
Okay,
with.
but you said there was some amount that was for another piece that you hadn't expected. So the $100,000 is entirely for the project manager piece?
Yeah.
Okay.
So their original contract was $285,
Okay.
and this will bump it to $385,
And that's for the company,
and that's for the company.
not in, okay.
And Charlie Ballman is the individual who
Okay.
there's two of them actually that
Okay.
work with us on this project.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think we got one of the best ones for sure out of that company. He's who we interviewed with,
Mhm.
and so, we knew up front he would be our person. And he, yeah.
So you said the 100,000 is all available is all built into contingency. So it just reduces contingency if there's anything else.
Exactly. It reduces contingency.
Okay.
Yeah. But, as contingency gets smaller, I get nervous. But believe me, we're watching it,
Yeah.
so, yeah. So, I think this is,
But that's possibly what your project manager helps you avoid having to go into other contingencies.
That's right.
Because of the things you
Yeah, exactly.
messed up, yeah. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it seems like a preventive approach and.
Oh, yeah, if
reasonable
we
to
would
do.
lose him right now, that would be horrible.
It's kind of like letting the horses, cutting the reins and letting them go loose, right?
Yeah.
So I always thought, I see a guy with 50,000 reins in his hand, and he's holding everybody into the course. And-
No, we're really lucky that Charlie has the background that he has. That is an added bonus to our project, that he's an engineer with and an architect. So it's like, he can talk to the architect, he can talk to the contractors. He knows every little last piece of what they're talking about. And I know relatively nothing. So he's interpreting, he and DA are interpreting all this stuff for me so that we make the best possible decisions with, the funds that we've been, that we are stewards of. So, I think this is a worthy expenditure, because otherwise you're just left with me, and that's not smart. I'm the librarian. I'm not the builder,
Yeah,
so.
oh, yeah.
Yeah. And he's helping actually with some of those things too, just to help with the process. He's really good. So, all right.
Do you want a motion? Is that?
It's not required, but it wouldn't hurt.
So I move that we support Mo's proposal to the council to increase the, to amend the contract with the project manager for $100,000.
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passed.
That'll be a nice thing to stick in my staff report, and that they are comfortable knowing that you know all that and it's been explained to you. All right. What else can we tell them about the building, DA?
It was pretty simple. We're on schedule and we're on budget, so
Wow.
What else do you want to know? They did just revise the schedule and go through the full project schedule and brought it out. They talked about it last week, but they did talk about it this week. And with they made some modifications, and there are little issues that are always impacting them, but we're still holding to that September 21st substantial completion date, which is that's the contractual date that everyone's focused on. And there's a little bit of overtime contingency built into making that schedule continue to be a reality, but it's pretty small. It's the overtime on this project's nothing like what I'm used to. So this is very tightly run budget from the contractor's point of view, because there's not a tremendous amount of late time like 10-hour days, and there's not a lot of Saturday time. So that it's great not to have that happen during the winter anyway. And when you focus that in May and June, just as you're getting ready to really get all the finishes in there and that kind of thing, then that's probably the best use of it. But sometimes you just need those bloody iron workers out there working in the rain to make it happen for us down the road. So far it's been a very tight budget. I'm very pleased with the way it's running. So there are no surprises. There are those technical problems, like Mo mentioned, the eyebrow detailing that didn't quite work right, and they were still working it out on a whiteboard Monday. So there are things like that come up, and there's some added expenses that get involved in that. But
Any weather contingency things?
no, really not. It's just even though we've had some rain that slowed down the masons, the little trick, I think I mentioned this last time, the little trick that the architect had about dealing with this is that the window frames are all supported by the interior framing and not by depending on the exterior brick skin.
Okay.
So the whole process is moving ahead whether the mason gets a rain day or not. And you can't ask for a system to work better than that. So these are little subtle things that get built in, and you don't always see them. But I sure appreciate them.
Masonry goes pretty fast when they can get going, right?
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Well, witness this little building just over here.
Yeah.
Inside of about 3 weeks, that whole thing got bricked.
Yeah.
You'll see that in a few weeks. I think it's 2 to 3 weeks you'll be seeing that on ours, and it will look completely different.
And I
It
saw
will
the-
change from the big blue building, Mo's big blue building, as the mayor calls it, to,
Oh, see.
yeah, it will turn into a library. It'll be awesome.
And we do have a backup mason. I saw
Oh,
that.
I know it,
I
yeah.
saw that picture you doing the
Yeah,
That's right.
I might need a little more training,
Yeah,
but yeah,
That's right.
So
exactly.
you'll get that on the job.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
We could all have in-time training.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just
Party,
in time
just in
training,
time
yeah.
training.
Exactly.
So, do you any other materials delay anticipated?
No.
Okay.
No, and that's a good question, because that's really a problem when you're dealing with specialized brick. That can really be a problem. But they did select brick that was available, and that's you don't have to.
Come from?
It's coming from probably 6 different sources, because each with the various colors of brick, they're mined in different clay pits
Okay.
in order to get the color they want.
Wow.
So.
An amazing amount of details.
But, I mean, you
have
got
to
to
be
know
thought
that
of.
little stuff, because
Yeah.
that leads.
I've
Right.
learned so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, and some of them, yeah, they
And that's where cooperation from the architect, recognizing, okay, well, that pit isn't even open and won't be for another 50 years. Well, then we're not expecting to wait that long. So,
no, we're not.
and so they get things to be as close as they can. But other things like the precast concrete, they worked very hard early on to get the color sample the way they wanted it, because you see it's tinted, and that's in the concrete. It's not a coating. So things like that, people are aware of. They're, I guess I didn't hear a whole backstory, but they canned the landscape contractor.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
He
here
started
midstream,
fresh.
you know.
These
So-
things happen, apparently.
Something happened anyway. They canned him, and they're working very quickly to get the next contractor on board and get his irrigation shop drawings done well in advance, because and also to review all of the submittals on the plants that are actually going to go in there, because plant availability, you know, there's some issues there that may come up, and we need to have the landscape architect have enough time to evaluate that. And we've been through all this before, you know, oh gosh, no, I can't get a 2-inch caliber, this or that, you know, and the landscape architects, yeah, well, I bet you didn't call so-and-so. And then, oh, well, we can get it. So, you know, there's all that needs to happen. And so, even though it sounds like landscaping, we don't need to know much about him for another 3 months. Well, yeah, we do. So they're you know, so there are issues. So that was an economic issue that came up.
All right, excellent.
Taken quite a bit of time, so unless there's questions, we'll probably move on, because poor Jan has been sitting here. So Jan, why don't you come up? This is Jan Salisbury, and she's going to be our official representative from the Friends.
All right.
And what we are doing is we are trying to make sure, a few of us attended a fundraising workshop that the Public Library Division of the Oregon Library Association put on. And one of the recommendations was that the Friends Group and the Foundation have really good communication, ongoing communication. And so, like a week ago, a couple of members of each of our boards got together to talk about what we were going to do. And one of the main things we want to be sure we do is always be in contact with the library board. So what we're going to try to do, instead of just kind of this annual report where you hear a lot of things that are happening but it's kind of out of context, we're going to have a representative from each group every month. And we've had a foundation one, but we haven't really had a Friends one for a while. So Jan is our new representative.
Hi.
Jen?
Great.
First off, I must say that this meeting area is considerably different than a number of years ago when we met in the corner booth of Elmer's. That's where we had our meetings for a number of years.
Jan was on the library board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
many
quite
years
a few
ago.
years. So yeah, I've been involved for a long time. So thank you for letting us be a part of what you're doing. And like Mo said, one of the biggest things we're doing right now is we met with the foundation to try to get a picture of where each of us are, and what our game plan will be, not just now while we're raising the money for the building, but afterwards. And I think we've got a pretty good idea as to what that would be, and put that together. Because the Friends have always been the fundraiser group. And we are pretty close. We're about $2,500, $3,000 from meeting our $100,000
Amazing.
pledge. We've already done 75,000. So when we get that paid, as I was telling Mo, we will have no money, but we will meet that pledge. It's taken a long time to get there, but it's a long time to get to this building.
Yeah.
So
We're well
doing
matched.
that. The main project that we have had in recent years is the bookstore, with the idea that it's a fundraiser. Well, for a number of years, it has been probably just making its way. But some changes have been made, and evaluating a variety of things, so that will be our other fundraiser. But just a little side note is that in this last year, we moved over 50,000 items through that store. And it's not just books, but people bring in media and patterns and all sorts of things. But they sort them according to what can go on the shelves. They send quite a few books to a place called Better World Books, and we get money back, maybe. And sometimes, though, they have to go into recycling. So I don't want to hear that, but that's what happens. So it keeps the people busy and the volunteers busy. It's been very good, and they're looking at a lot of new things there. And then the other thing the Friends have done in recent years is support some programs at the library. The cultural passes is an annual thing, and we were discussing today about the movies. We often supply some support for that. So it's all fundraising, and then what can we do to support the library and the community? So hearing from you, the library board, what's needed is helpful as well. So thank you for letting me be here.
It's interesting you should bring up the cultural passes, because I was just asked a question on the street the other day. How come we don't offer a cultural pass to the art museum in Portland?
It's a reduced admission.
Huh?
It's reduced, right? It's $5.
Can't remember. I think it's
The-
reduced admission.
Yeah, it's like $5 or something per adult, but it's because the museum makes that decision of what they'll offer.
That's kind of what I thought.
And
Yeah.
same with
I
the
didn't wanna
Oregon Zoo, and same with the Portland
Talk out of
Children's
school, you know,
Museum.
but, yeah.
Yeah, we are getting one for the end of the Oregon Trail.
Oh, good.
I know,
'Cause
right?
it's expensive to go.
Yeah, and
I
they
took
need-
my kids
they
there
need the
this summer.
exposure.
That was going to be like our day trip to, and I was stunned at how expensive it was. I think it was like $24 to take the three of us in. Yeah, and as Oregon City residents, there's no discount whatsoever. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
went, but it was like, wow, okay, that was.
In the future, you can come to the library.
Yeah, so I'm
I'll-
very excited to hear that.
Yeah, and
It's
there's
a nice
another one,
museum.
I can't remember. It's a really nice museum. And Jan has been the Friends treasurer for years and years and years.
Oh, yes.
She's awesome. And, I have just not been asking for a lot of support from these guys for programs because they're doing this $100,000 thing. And that's really the most important thing right now. So we'll get all that back to that regular program support in the future. I'm not at all concerned about it. Because really, you still mostly have been. It's not been like this big, huge reduction or anything. But I hesitate to ask right now because it's like, we're so close. We're so close. It's so cool. I just can't believe that's such a huge chunk of money.
Oh, I have one more thing. I had a friend from Glasgow, Scotland come, and she wanted to see the town, so I walked her around the McLaughlin House, which was under construction or something. But I took her over to the bookstore, and she was just, I couldn't get her out of there. She loved that,
Yeah.
And she said, I can't buy a book because I have to haul it all the way back to Scotland. But boy, she really thought that was a great
It's
idea.
a very well-run
It's very
place.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful place.
volunteer.
Yep.
It's amazing what the volunteers do. I mean, the hours that they contribute monthly are like around 200 or something? Yeah, a month, yeah. It's a lot.
And I know that it's impacting a range of ages, because I've got guys that I work with that are in their 20s that go in there on almost a weekly basis looking for treasures. Usually in the movie and music section, but every once in a while they'll look in the books, but they always manage to find these obscure things. It's like, how did they had it there? What?
You need to go there.
Yeah.
All the garage sailors in my neighborhood area have my number, so when their books don't sell at the garage sale, they give me a call.
You want to do a foundation report?
Just briefly,
Okay.
pass that along. I think if you read the first line of the treasurer's report, that's probably all you need to know there. We're doing some administrative things like making sure we can accept stock, and that requires some accounts to be set up and so forth. And then we've got that process completely covered. Brian Johnson's taking care of that for us. And we had talked about this joint meeting, but now the joint meeting's happened, and I haven't actually been updated on that. So you just talked about that, so I think that's covered. And really, we're waiting a little bit further in time before we start any kind of events inside the building.
We need to have permanent stairs for sure.
Yeah, that would really help.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're looking at more like April or May
Yeah.
to have an event.
And then I guess the second thing is to take a look at the grants
Great.
section and just kind of scan that, and you'll see how we're doing. So
That's really good.
another group of people are just out there working to get something done for the library.
How's the matching grant thing I see here? How's that being publicized?
Really not yet, because part of that focused on the drawer fronts, and we haven't quite got that organized yet.
But as it turned out, it doesn't, it's,
Because it doesn't
it's
have to, that's
It's a
the
date
different one.
thing. So for every $100 donated for any reason to the foundation,
Yeah.
such and such a date to such and such a date, I think it's September 1, they match up to $25,000.
Right.
So do you have something on Facebook? I'm just thinking of, do you have something that we can share out to publicize that?
We will. We
Okay.
will for sure.
Okay, it's not there
Because
yet.
I can.
Yeah, we're not there
Sure,
yet.
there is.
This is the first I've heard
Yeah,
of
because
that,
like
so-
$100 is like a lot of people can spend $100 on,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be local. It can be any 250 people.
I got some
or whatever,
friends
yeah.
around the country.
I think if you can get that
Exactly.
social media,
Campaign going. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it'd be good.
yeah.
And then like I need to resubmit a grant that I submitted last year to the wrong part of the Parks, State Parks Department. I went through the heritage one instead of the preservation one, and we didn't find out in time, so that'll, that's up to $20,000. Some of those things are out there floating around that I think will come back yet and be very, very good. Will add up still.
Well,
Thank you again.
Good night,
Thank you.
Jan.
Good night.
well, you know me, always full of ideas. So we have these pints in the past thing coming up, and it seems to be very popular. Geez, it'd be a great place there to pass the hat for the matching thing on that.
Yeah, and that's fine if the foundation or the Friends want to do that. I can't do that.
I mean, you got a captive audience that
Yeah.
wants to do something
Yeah.
for the library,
That's right.
and here it is.
Yeah. I think we are.
Full
I
of
think
beer,
we will
so-
put out like just a donation thing in February. I think that would be okay to do. I'm fine with that. I kind of want to get some of these things kind of going before I like start hitting people up on them. I want them. Don't all want to be fundraisers, but yes,
Mhm.
it's other people have suggested it.
Just throwing another.
So it's
shrimp
10
on the barbie
after.
there.
What else do we have for the good of the order?
Any future agenda items?
We'll be talking about meeting room policy in
meeting
our
room policies
future.
for next month.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting that the people over in West Lynn are asking them when we're going to be open here. We got West Lynn shaking.
Because usually all I hear about is Westland, Westland, Westland. Yeah.
Are we good?
Yep.
Is that all done? I'll say. So we'll meet again next month, second Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Yep.
Meeting
you.
adjourned at 6:12.